Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunachira Vanachare Yamunachira Vanachare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunachira Vanachare Yamunachira Vanachare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhare Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajanaranjana Yamunachira Vanachare Yamunachira Vanachare
Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtottara Shata Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda Ki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya Naram chaiva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasa Tato Jaya Mujiraye Nashta Prayesha Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 9 and verse number 13. Today's verse is a bit difficult to recite, so I will start very slowly. And in the last line, in the last pada, there is also one point, so I will a little bit break the rules of pronunciation for the sake of meter. Puṁsāmato vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair. Puṁsāmato vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair. Dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā. Dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā. Ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho. Ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho. Dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra. Dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra. Puṁsām vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair. Dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā. Ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho. Dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra. Please. Samato vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair. dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā ca ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra puṁsām vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā ca ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra puṁsām vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā ca ārādhanam bhagavatas tava sat-kriyārtho dharmo rpitaḥ karhicid mriyate yatra. Ladies, please. Puṁsām vividha-karmabhir adhvarādyair dānena cogra-tapasā paricaryayā ca yatra. Puṁsām of the people, ataḥ, therefore, vividha-karmabhiḥ, by various fruitive activities, adhvara-ādyaiḥ, by performance of Vedic rituals, dānena, by charities, cha, and ugra, very hard, tapasā, austerity, paricaryayā, by transcendental service, cha, also, ārādhanam, worship, bhagavatas, of the Personality of Godhead, tava, your, sat-kriyā-arthaḥ, simply for pleasing your Lordship, dharmo, religion, rpitaḥ, so offered, karhicid, at any time, mriyate, vanquishes, na, never, yatra, there. Translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austere penances, and transcendental service, performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. Purport. Absolute devotional service conducted in 9 different spiritual activities, hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping, praying, etc., does not always appeal to people with a pompous nature. They are more attracted by the Vedic superficial rituals and other costly performances of social religious shows. But the process, according to the Vedic injunctions, is that the fruits of all pious activities should be offered to the Supreme Lord. In Bhagavad Gita 9.27, the Lord demands that whatever one may do in one's daily activities, such as worship, sacrifice, and offering charity, all the results should be offered to Him only. This offering of the results of pious acts unto the Supreme Lord is a sign of devotional service to the Lord and is of permanent value, whereas enjoying the same results for oneself is only temporary. Anything done on account of the Lord is a permanent asset and accumulates in the form of unseen piety for gradual promotion to the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord. These undetected pious activities will one day result in full-fledged devotional service by the grace of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, any pious act done on account of the Supreme Lord is also recommended here for those who are not pure devotees. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswata Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Om Ajnana Timirandhasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchena Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Vajitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Yantah pravishya mam vachim mam prasuptam sanjivayata kila shakti darasvadamna anyamscha hasta charanashravanat vagadin pranannamo bhagavate purushaya tubhyam. Hare Krishna. So first of all, today's verse and yesterday's verse, we should study them together. So in the last verse, yesterday, there was a discussion about the worshipping of demigods. And worshipping of demigods was condemned by Lord Brahma in that verse because it gives non-permanent result. And on the contrary, if we worship the Supreme Lord somehow or other, the result will be permanent. So we can remember the verse from Bhagavad Gita, from the 7th chapter, Antavatu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. So those who worship demigods, they are not very intelligent people, because the results of such worship is non-permanent. So it has no value at all. But if we worship the Supreme Lord, anybody who worships the Supreme Lord is a great soul. In Bhagavad Gita itself, we know there are 4 categories of pious people who come to the worship of the Lord. Chaturvidha bhajante mam, janah sukritinarjuna, arto jigyasur artarthi jnanicha varatarshava. And of course we know these people are not pure devotees, but nevertheless, Krishna in the following verses, he says, Udarah sarva evaite. All of them are great souls, because they started to worship me after so many lifetimes in this material world. And in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, in Antya Lila, there is also the verse, Jai bhajye sei boro abhaktahi nachar, Krishna bhajanya nahi jati kuladi vichar. Whoever worships the Supreme Lord is a great soul. So therefore this verse encourages us to worship Him in whatever ways we can. So this is the introduction. And today I would like to discuss one very important and difficult topic, but I will try to do my best not to deviate from Srila Prabhupada's instructions on this point. But the point is very, very difficult, very complicated, but if we understand this, it would be very good for our spiritual life. So I want to speak a little bit about the Vedas. So in this verse, the Lord Brahma, he speaks about people who are not pure devotees. And we know in Vedas, 99% of Vedas are dedicated to the people who are not pure devotees, who are karmis, means pious people. Generally, when Prabhupada speaks about karmis, it includes both karmis and vikarmis also, pious and sinful people. But Vedic process is for karmis, and trividya vishaya vidaya nistraigu nivavarjana. Come up to the level above the gunas of the material nature and abandon of these karmic rituals. So, very often devotees, especially newcomers to Krishna consciousness, they read Srila Prabhupada's books and other books, and they can be bewildered because they find so many contradictions in the Vedas. There are different instructions in different situations, and sometimes it may contradict. So how to resolve these problems? For example, itself in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada explains that animal's stool is contaminated. Whoever touches the stool of an animal, he will become contaminated. But at the same time, the stool of a cow is very much purifying. This is one example. And also, there are many different examples, contradictory points, instructions in Vedas. And why it is so? The reason is, there are many reasons, several reasons. For example, yesterday, Kishora Prabhu, he was speaking about how should we understand Vedas. If in the Vedas it is said, how it was, sarva lok, maybe all the people, it should be understood that most of the people, not necessarily it means all the people. So, for example, Srila Prabhupada also, he was speaking, one disciple asked him a question, Srila Prabhupada, in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Yad gatva nanivartante tadama paramam mama. Yeah, so I was trying to remember a different verse where it is said, so whoever enters the spiritual world, he will never come back to this material world. But Srila Prabhupada said, never means almost never. So we are spiritual souls and we are eternally belong to Tatastha Shakti of the Supreme Lord. We can be either on material world or in spiritual world, and anytime we can change our position. But Srila Prabhupada said, generally, those who achieve the spiritual world, they will not come back to material world. But theoretically, chance is there. So never means almost never. So this is one point we should know about the Vedas. So we should understand the language. Language of the Vedas is also a little bit complicated. And also, there is some other point. There are rules and exceptions, like in the example of stool of an animal. General rule is animal stool is contaminating, but there are exceptions also. For example, if someone starts learning Sanskrit, there are different schools, different approaches to learn Sanskrit. For example, one school is, we can say, inaugurated by Srila Jiva Goswami. He has compiled a book, Harinamamrita Vyakarana. And the other approach is Panini. And the disciples of Panini, they wrote a book which is called Siddhanta Kaumudi. So there are two main schools in the world how to learn Sanskrit. Because, Sanskrit is just a knowledge. One can, when we learn language, when we were a child, when we were children, we didn't go to school to learn language. We didn't study how to speak. It comes naturally. So Sanskrit also, it's just knowledge. But to study Sanskrit, as for example, we study our own languages, there are many rules and a lot of exceptions. So in Sanskrit, there are much more exceptions than the rules. So in the same way, Vedas should be understood in the same way, should be studied in the same way. So there are rules and there are exceptions. And also, Vedas is very difficult to understand because Krishna created a system. If we want to study Veda, we must approach the spiritual master. Tadvigyanartham sagurumiva bhigachet samit panik shrotriya brahmanishtam. Vedas are not meant to study by our own efforts. So this is the main point. If you want to learn something, some Vedic science, we should approach Guru. Only like that it works. Otherwise, we can remember the case of Ekalavya. Ekalavya wanted to study from Drona, but he was punished by Drona because he was not properly approached the spiritual master. So this is a complicated point in the Vedas. And what else? What else? And also, the main difficult subject matters for us, Vedas has instructions for different kinds of devotees, for different types of devotees. There are instructions for neophytes, and there are instructions for mature devotees. And of course, there are instructions for paramahamsas. Itself in Bhagavad Gita, in 12th chapter, there are instructions for 4 different categories of people. In the verse 12.8, it is said, Mayeva manat hasva mai buddhim niveshaya nivasishya mayeva atta urtvam nasamshayaha. The meaning of this verse is similar to the verse Man mana bhavamad bhakta. So, always think of me, become my devotee, meditate on me 24 hours a day. If you can do this, fine. Great. But if you cannot do, then there are different other engagements. So, in the purport of today's verse, Srila Prabhupada says, so absolute devotional service conducted in 9 different spiritual activities, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, etc., does not always appeal to people with a pompous nature. They are more attracted by the Vedic superficial rituals and other costly performances of social religious shows. So, Srila Jiva Goswami, in one of his purports to Srimad Bhagavatam, in first canto somewhere, he says, if a devotee can just do Shravanam and Kirtanam activities, and he is satisfied by that, it's fine. So like Bhaktivinoda Thakur instructed us. So the best process to serve Krishna is how? You should close eyes, at least half close eyes, and sit in a comfortable asana, and put behind yourself a picture of Shri Radha Madhava, for example, picture of the Lord, and chant very attentively holy name. You can start from one round. If you can chant one round without deviation, and your mind is focused completely on this holy name, it's fine. Then you gradually increase. 1 round, then 2 rounds, 3, 4, then 8, 12, 16, then multiple times of 16 up to 64 rounds, then 64 rounds, then 128, etc., 192, up to 1 lakh, and then 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakhs, and constantly, eventually constantly. If you can constantly chant the holy name with full attention, it's fine. This is the best way. But if we cannot, there are different other processes. For example, you can add smaranam. And if by shravanam, kirtanam, and smaranam you are not fully satisfied and you cannot practice it, you can add paricaryayā, then archanam, etc., etc., etc. So if you can be satisfied in these 9 processes of devotional service, that's good. That's very good. But if you cannot do this, Bhagavad Gita, in the next verse, 12.9, he suggests, Athachitam samathatum nashaknashi maistiram abhyasa yogina tato mamichhaptum dhananjaya. So follow the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti. So the first process is for paramahamsas. Paramahamsas, they can chant 24 hours a day, and no varnashrama, no other duties, no need to come to Mangalarati even every day. Just holy name, that's all. But for those who cannot do, also we should follow sadhana bhakti. And who cannot do this, so sadhana bhakti is the level of initiation. When we come to that level, when we perform sadhana bhakti activities, so we can approach spiritual master and ask for initiation. If we cannot do this, there is the next verse. Adhaisha tapyasa ktosi kartum adyoga mashridha sarva karma palatyagam tatoh kuryatat mavan. Basically, the meaning is the same as in today's verse. If you cannot perform sadhana bhakti, then just donate, give the results of your job to the Lord, and gradually you will be purified. Like yesterday, at the end of the class, Kishora Prabhu was answering the questions of one Prabhuji, and he said that we should accumulate piety. It's gradual process. In Shastras, there is one verse where it is said, what is said in Shastras? It's a very, very important verse, but I cannot remember now. Yavat papaistu malinam hridayam tava devahi nashastra satya buddhih syat sad buddhis sadgurau tatha aneka janma janita puni rashi palam mahat satsanga shastra shravanat eva primadi jayate. So, because someone committed sinful activities in the previous lifetimes, and because we committed aparadhas, in this lifetime we don't have strong faith in the scriptures, we don't have strong faith in spiritual master and in sadhus, guru sadhu shastra. We don't have faith in them only because of sinful activities. And aneka janma janita puni rashi phalam mahat. It takes several lifetimes, it takes a lot of time to accumulate pious activities and, of course, bhakti sukriti. And when we accumulate enough bhakti sukriti, then the faith to the spiritual master and sadhu and shastra will be awakened. So this is gradual process, and it takes time. So when we come in contact with Krishna consciousness, the rule is we should be introduced to bhakti yoga in the highest level. We should preach to others also. So the highest way of performing service to Krishna is to chant the holy name offenselessly, without offenses, to dedicate our lives fully to Him. And there is a verse, Anyabhilasha shunyam jnana karma dinavritam. And we can also say that the most the most valuable process, the most important is manmana bhavamad bhakto and sarva dharman parityaja. Abandon everything for the sake of Krishna. And there will be some people who have accumulated enough pious activities in previous lives, and they will join immediately our Krishna consciousness movement. In Srila Prabhupada's time, there were a lot of examples of this. And our Venerable Mataji Govinda Dasi, a few times maybe, I just like this point. In her tribute to Brahmananda Prabhu, she mentioned that many of the early disciples of Srila Prabhupada, they were not just hippies, they were very exalted devotees. And when they came in contact with Srila Prabhupada, immediately the dormant love, dormant attraction for Krishna has arisen in their hearts. And they became fully dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. So strong faith in spiritual master, it does not come out of nothing. There should be some pious credits. There is one point. And the other point also, spiritual master and saintly person, he can create pious credits for anyone by his desire. It's not a rule, it's an exception, but it also can be like that. But general process is gradual process. Shanai Paramet. So the thing is, different instructions are for the people on different levels. So it's okay if we cannot follow the process of Paramahamsas, then we should happily take the process recommended for sadhakas and go to the temple, chant 16 rounds. If we cannot do this, no problem. Some devotees for many years, they cannot follow one of the regulated principles. For example, I know one devotee for several years, for decades, he was unable to give up smoking. But he has faith in spiritual master, and his spiritual master, Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, also he had faith in him. And gradually, after 10, 20 years, he became capable to get rid of smoking. And he got initiation, and now he is even residing in Vrindavan, which is a difficult place for devotees. But anyway, he is residing very happily there. So it takes time, but anyway, this process is glorious. So we should understand that there are instructions for different people. And devotees may commit mistakes. For example, there is a book, Ekadashi Mahatmya. And this book has many instructions, many encouragements for people to follow Ekadashi. For example, there are different types of Ekadashi. Putrada Ekadashi. We can beget a son if you follow this Ekadashi. And what called one type of Ekadashi after following which you can be purified of all sins. Papamachani Ekadashi. And different Ekadashis. So devotees sometimes they have very strong faith in this book, and they think, oh, this is for that. We should follow Ekadashi to accumulate pious credits. But devotional service is not for that at all. And for example, in Russia, there are 3 different editions in Russian language of Ekadashi Mahatmya. They were published in 1990s and in the beginning of this millennium. And 3 different devotees who made translations of this Ekadashi Mahatmya, all of them, they stopped practicing seriously Krishna consciousness. Maybe just a coincidence, but the point is that Ekadashi Mahatmya is not for us. So some scriptures are not for us. And therefore, there is a Vedic principle that, for example, adhikar uchita shiksha. It can be formulated like that in Sanskrit. All the instructions are given in accordance with the spiritual level of a practitioner. And therefore, spiritual life begins with 3 angas among the 64 angas of devotional service mentioned in Nectar of Devotion. Guru padashrayas tasmat Krishna dikshadi shikshanam vishrambena goroh seva. First, we should find a spiritual master. We should find a guide. And we should ask our spiritual master, which instructions are applicable for myself? Please tell me. Which instructions are not applicable? For example, in Srila Prabhupada's time, and actually before 1990, in ISKCON there was a rule that in all places in the world, in all cities, in all countries, all the devotees were following the calendar published by Sri Chaitanya Math. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, it was his desire, we should follow the calendar by Sri Chaitanya Math for Mayapur. So his idea was, there are some disciples who remember this. So the idea was, in America, in Russia, China, we will follow the calendar for Mayapur, because Mayapur is the center of spiritual world. And there were some, I know at least one devotee outside ISKCON. After that, he wrote, no, after some time, of course, now it's in the internet, I wrote it in the internet. It was a caution. So, dear devotees, please do not follow the calendar for Mayapur. And he started quoting some rules from Manu Samhita or from Haribhakti Vilasa, where it is said that it's so dangerous, it's so sinful actually not to follow Ekadashi properly. So if, for example, we are in the Boston, United States, and the difference between Boston and Mayapur is about 12 hours. So, for example, if in India Ekadashi today, so in Boston Ekadashi may be tomorrow. So that devotee makes a point. So no, we should follow strictly Shastras. But there is one important moment. So this instruction, all the instructions of Shastras are given to us by our spiritual master. For example, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a great astrologer. And he also compiled Vaishnava calendar for ISKCON, not for ISKCON, for Mayapur, Vaishnava calendar. And he showed this calendar to Bhaktivinoda Thakur. At that time, there was one prominent calendar which was accepted by all the Gauriya Vaishnavas in Bengal, and it differed from the calendar created by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And when he showed the calendar to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he said, yeah, your research is correct, but we shall follow the traditional calendar, because this is, it's up to Acharya. Acharya introduced the rules. For example, Srila Prabhupada said to his disciples, he had an idea at first to send Brahmananda Prabhu to Russia, and he said, if it's required, and to Harikesh Maharaj, he said, if it's required, you go to Siberia and you can eat meat, but you preach Krishna consciousness. It's an exception, but the Guru, he knows which instructions can be given to you. So on all the levels of spiritual advancement, throughout all our lives, we should have a guide. We should be constantly in contact with him. And we should ask him, which instructions should I follow now? Which process should I follow now? And which rules and regulations I can abandon now? For example, when a devotee attains level of Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, then he may skip some rules, and he may take some rules for more advanced devotees. For example, we should not criticize devotees who do not come to Mangalarati in Mayapur temple, or if they, during Mangalarati, they chant holy name, they may be so absorbed in holy name. For them, Shravanam and Kirtan is more important than Archanam, for example, etc. There may be different reasons. We don't know who is who. Therefore, we must be very careful. And we should know our own adhikar. And actually, I prepared some verses, but the highest instruction. Oh, yeah. Also, one point I wanted to make. We are encouraged to follow the path of Paramahamsas. This path is is described in Bhagavad Gita, sarvadharvan parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all the rules and regulations of the Vedas, just surrender unto me. No need to follow varnashrama dharma, no need to do this, do that, no need to maintain your family. And some devotees, in immature stage, they can abandon their families. Even if they are mature enough, they can have some ideas, wrong ideas. Actually, in some countries in the West, it's prominent when there is a couple, there is a husband and wife, and no children. Because we want to dedicate our life for serving Krishna. We don't want to be entangled in these family activities. Children, it's in Shastra, in Bhagavatam, it is said that children are like jackals, etc. So some words like that. And what happened? Why then you got married if you don't want a child? In Shastra it is said, putra rthe kriyate bharya. One marries a wife for the sake of putra, a son. If you don't want to be entangled, just become a brahmachari, become a sannyasi. And then what can happen then? It's actually also a huge misservice to Srila Prabhupada, because in our society, all the devotees should be protected, all children should be protected, old ladies should be protected, old men should be protected. For example, if there is a couple, man and wife, husband and wife, and if husband dies and his widow, maybe he was supporting her throughout of his life, and now she is without money, without support, she doesn't have any son, how she will survive? So it's not very proper. So therefore, these instructions should be taken only in accordance with the instructions of spiritual master. There is one also point. Krishna says, Sarvadharvan parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarvapapibhyo mokshishyami ma shuchiha. Do not fear, do not fear. If you surrender unto me, I will free you from all the sinful activities. But are we qualified to full surrender? We can imagine that we surrendered fully to Krishna, but it can be true, actually. We may think we have surrendered fully, but who can prove it? So therefore, we should approach spiritual master. Actually, Krishna should agree to accept us, and he should agree to protect us, to relieve us, to deliver us from fear, etc. Krishna should agree. It should not be a fanatical approach. I give up everything, and Krishna should support me now. Why? He is not obliged. And this is a matter of realization. If I have strong realization, if we have strong faith in Krishna, then we can do this. For example, there is a verse in the 4th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam which illustrates the devotee, the realization of the topmost devotee. 428.42. Pare brahmani chatmanam param brahma tathatmani vikshamano vihayaksham asmatu pararamaha. King Malaya Dvaja speaks. And he says, King Malaya Dvaja could thus observe that the super soul was sitting by his side, and that he, as the individual soul, was sitting by the side of the super soul. Since both were together, there was no need for separate interests. Thus, he ceased from such activities. This is, to me, a very encouraging verse. So it describes the realization of King Malaya Dvaja. He has seen directly there is a super soul at myself, and no need to worry about anything. I can surrender into Krishna. If one has such a realization, he can abandon everything, all his social duties, etc. all sadhana bhakti activities, etc. For example, there is a case in our history. Srila Sridhara Swami, the first recognized Gaudiya Vaishnava, previous to appearance of Mahaprabhu, first Vaishnava commentator of Srimad Bhagavatam. I read about him that he had a wife. It's an exception. Please don't be encouraged to follow his example unless you have the same realization. He had a wife, and his wife was pregnant, and she delivered a child, and after that immediately she died. And he was so attracted to the Supreme Lord, he wanted to dedicate all his life to Krishna. But what to do? My wife died, my child is born. How can I should support him? How can I abandon him or not? But then he saw one lizard. And that lizard also, she delivered a small child, and mother lizard, she died. And he started watching the small lizard. And what happened? Some insect, some small fly came nearby the lizard, and the small lizard, she did like this. And she has eaten that insect, small fly. So at that moment, Sridhara Swami got a realization. So the Supreme Lord, he supports everyone, and he got some strong faith. Surely he will protect my child. No question about this. So she took sannyas. If we have such kind of realization, then we can take sannyas. Actually, sannyasa order is very, very difficult. So there was one devotee, one sannyasi, he left his body 4 years before. He was preaching mainly in Russia. His Holiness Nitai Chaitanya Goswami Maharaj, a disciple of Srila Radhanath Swami. He was asked once, how it is to be a sannyasi? And, he said, no, you cannot imagine how difficult it is. But Krishna must be supporting you. Yeah, Krishna is supporting, Krishna is helping, but how he is helping? For example, it's like you are thrown out from the higher building, from the skyscraper. You are thrown out, and you are flying down, you are running down to the ground, and just before the ground, Krishna rescues you. Krishna saves you just before falling to the ground. So like that, Krishna protects his fully surrendered devotees. So we should be prepared for that. We should have a strong faith. So unless we have such strong faith, we should very happily perform our spiritual duties. And in Bhagavad Gita it is said, Shanai Shanai Ruparamit. Slowly and steadily. Slow and steady, these two things. In the nectar of instruction, Utsahan Nishchayat Dharyat. We should be enthusiastic, we should be confident, and we should have tolerance. Therefore, in this regard, we can quote the very important verse from the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11:12:9. Tavat karmani kurvita na nirvidyata yavata matkatha shravanado ārādhanaṁ na jayate. As long as one is not satiated by fruitive activity and has not awakened his taste for devotional service by Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, one has to act according to the regulative principles of the Vedic injunctions. So unless we have full faith in Shravanam and Kirtanam, and we are happy with that, and we are self-realized, so we should follow Vedic injunctions. And after several verses, 27, 28. Jata shrado matkathasu nirvinak sarvakamasu veda dukatmakan kaman parityagi pyanishvaraha tato bhajayata mam pritak shradhaludrirhanishchayaha dukkamanashchatan kaman dukkadarkamshchagarhayam. Having awakened faith in the narrations of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. And so this verse, Bhagavatam itself, it encourages us. So if we cannot follow completely the path of Paramahamsas, don't be discouraged, just continue, and gradually you will accumulate enough, bhakti sukriti enough. Your faith will be increased, and you will be able to follow the path of Paramahamsas. Don't worry. So this is encouragement for us. And in this case, I can also say one example of one well-known devotee in our movement. In ISKCON, it is known as Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji. You know, it is a god brother of Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada was accepting sannyas, it was in Mathura. There were Narayan Maharaj, Bhaktiraj Sridhara Maharaj, and Srila Prabhupada's sannyasa initiating guru, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj. And they were performing yagya, and during the yagya also was present Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. And he was loudly chanting holy name. And one of the priests told him, please, don't chant too loudly. But Srila Prabhupada encouraged him. Yeah, go on, please go on. This is the main thing. All these yagyas, mantras, this is not the essence. And so, in the life of Akinchana Krishna Das Babaji, there is a book about him wrote by one of ISKCON devotees. And when he became attracted by Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he joined Gaudiya Math, but he was spending most of the time chanting Hare Krishna. And the time came when he was supposed to be initiated. And he was called to spiritual master but by his god brother, but he refused to come. He said, I'm not qualified to receive initiation. I'm not qualified, I'm fallen. So anyway, I can chant Hare Krishna, there is no need to be initiated, to chant Hare Krishna, and I am happy with this position. So don't worry. And when Srila Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, he has known about this, he called this disciple and he told him, initially I was going to give you a different name, but now I decided to give you another name. And he gave him the name Svadhikara Das. Svadhikara Ananda, the one who is happy by practicing in his own level, according to his adhikar. So there is an encouragement for all of us. We should also become Svadhikara Ananda. We should be happy by practicing Krishna consciousness on our level. And the main point in our spiritual life in the process of abhidheya is to progress without regress. If we can progress without regress, then slowly but gradually we will attain the higher qualification. And for that, we should always be in contact with our spiritual master, with someone who knows us and who can tell us which rules and regulations we should take now and which rules and regulations we should reject now. So, this is some of my meditations of today's verse, Hare Krishna. Maybe there are some questions about this. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji, for a wonderful class. So as you mentioned that renunciation as per realization, whatever level of realization we are at, means there is a chance that we can become complacent, like okay, I am up to this level only, so I will practice at this level. So means there is a chance that okay, I will not push myself for higher and higher things. Like in Srila Prabhupada times, like devotees achieved unbelievable things because they push themselves so much like that. So so how can we also do like that actually?
It's like a bow, a bow. For example, Arjuna was a warrior. He had a bow. Yeah, and when you are trying to release an arrow, you should. I don't know how to say it in English. Sorry, but this detail, this string. Yeah. The string should be very tight, but not tight too much. Otherwise, you won't be able to release an arrow. But the string also should be very. It should be properly fixed. So instructions for us should be like that. They should be difficult for us to perform, but not impossible. So our pushing should be like that. Our instructions to us should be like that, that we should struggle to accomplish them, but it should be possible for doing this. So like that. We should be pushed, but our tasks, our instructions, we should be able to perform. So pushing must be there, not just like we should be relaxed. No, we should not be relaxed. Therefore, a guru, he can tell you, what should you do? So it would be difficult for you, no doubt, but it will be austere for you, but at the same time, you should be able to do this. So therefore, we should be in constant contact with Guru to understand how can I do. And also there is a next process, next anga of devotional service, sat-dharma-prichha. Sat-dharma-prichha means we should always ask spiritual master, so Guru Maharaj, you gave me this instruction, but I am unable at all to follow this. Okay, then Guru can give instruction on a little bit lower level. But generally, how gurus act, they give at first the most exalted instructions. In case if you can follow this, if you can follow, fine. If you cannot follow, then a little bit not so intense. So some other instructions. If you can follow this, fine. If you cannot follow, some other instructions. So like that. It's like that. Did I answer your question? Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu, for such a nice class. You
Hare
gave
Krishna.
so many points for us to reflect on. I picked up on a few points that you said about old lady, her husband dies, no protection. But we see that today, women, children, elderly, cows, brahmanas, the differently abled, the mentally retarded, anyone who is in a position of weakness, helplessness, dependency, they're badly exploited, and violence continues unabated against all these classes. So what is the solution to making sure that they are all protected?
Protection is not guaranteed at all. First of all, we cannot, only Krishna can guarantee our protection. But as a society, therefore devotees should not live alone. They should live in a community. They should have some relationships between each other. This is general thoughts. It's a good when we live as a big family, but who can guarantee? So there is a solution like agricultural communities, not necessarily agricultural communities. Like in Mayapur, we can also have some circle of our friends, of our well-wishers. Eventually, balasya neha sharanam pitaro nrisimha. Without the allowment of the Lord, no one can be protected. So I cannot give any specific solution. But why I made this point? Because just recently, just yesterday, one devotee told me his situation. He is a brahmachari. He decided to dedicate his life for serving Krishna. He is from the West. Last year, his father passed away, and he has only his mother, who has no job. And now what happened? No one has to protect her. So he has to leave brahmachari ashram, and he has to take a job. So therefore it's very difficult, in the West at least, to surrender, unless you have a family. There is one solution: have a big family of good. If all the family members are good people, they can protect. At least if he had a brother, he can maintain their mother. And also, just three more examples I can say. When brahmacharis who were inspired to dedicate all his life for serving Krishna, they had to come back to their hometown to take a job for the sake of taking care of their parents. This is because in our society, in our ISKCON movement, social structure is not developed yet. Therefore, I said that if a family has plenty of child, it can help. Someone who has a qualification, he can dedicate life to Krishna fully in that case. But if you are the only child, it's very difficult. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Rantaraja Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.